we're going to try a few problems for trying to determine which type of function would match a given scenario. And so this first one, it says, suppose your monthly salary depends on how many hours you work at a rate of $12 per hour. Okay, so the first thing that I can tell is that the rate of change is constant. Okay, so every time I work one more hour, I get paid an additional $12. There's only one kind of our basic functions that have a constant rate of change, and that is a linear function, because that would just be the slope of the line. Okay, another way you could think of this is to write a formula. Your monthly salary, S, depends on how many hours you work at a rate of $12 an hour, so I would say S equals 12H. And we can clearly see that this is the equation of a line, since both S and H are raised to the first power. Okay, so we're going to say linear, and we can pick out which one of these formulas it looks closest to. A linear function is of the form y is equal to k times x. Okay, the next one, the number of gallons of gas you get depends on the price per gallon. Suppose you have $30 to spend. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is recognize what happens as the price per gallon increases. Okay, and you only have so much money. So as the price per gallon increases, the number of gallons you can afford decreases. And so we take a look at our basic functions, and there are not really many of them that have decreasing regions. And so we can kind of eliminate quite a few. Okay, a linear function could be decreasing, but if k is positive, it's going to be increasing. Quadratic function has a decreasing region, okay, but it's to the left of the y-axis, so we'll probably cross that one off our list. A cubic function, if k is 1, is always increasing. Same thing for square root and cube root. Okay, so we're down to some at the bottom. So I'm considering the reciprocal function, because if we recognize kind of in quad 1 that what that graph looks like, it does something like this. Okay, so as the price per gallon increases, the number of gallons that I can afford decreases. Okay, so that's a possibility, but let's also try to write a formula to see if this is logical. So the price I pay per gallon times the number of gallons is equal to the total price that I will pay, which is $30. Okay, the number of gallons of gas depends on the price per gallon, so we're going to solve for N. N is going to be a function of P. Okay, so I would solve for N by dividing both sides by P, and I get N equals 30 over P. And so for instance, if the price per gallon is $3, I could afford to buy 10 gallons of gas. Okay, now this is clear that this is a form of the reciprocal function. So that's the one that we're going to write down. Okay, next, the area of a circle depends on its radius length. So if we just know the relationship between radius and area in a circle, it's this formula, A equals pi r squared. And we look at the operation on the variable, which is a square, then hopefully we can tell that a quadratic function would be best. And lastly, the side length of a cube can be determined from its volume. So one thing I notice, as volume gets bigger, volume of a cube gets bigger, the side length of the cube should also be bigger. So this is an increasing function. But there's a relationship between the volume and side length of a cube. And so let's take a look at that relationship. The volume of a cube, you just cube a side. So volume is equal to s cubed. It does, however, say the side length can be determined from the volume, so that means the side length is a function of its volume, and we want to solve for s. So to solve for s in this equation, we would get rid of the cube and take the cube root of both sides. Okay, so finally, s is equal to the cube root of v is a relationship between s and v, and that is a cube root function.